people talk about belonging a lot, and I always say you have to belong within yourself before you can belong anywhere else. So that's how I see coaching.
What made you get into that?
You know,
Some people talk about confidence. Coach Carey lives it, but that doesn't mean the journey's been easy. 3-time certified life coach, TEDx speaker, a force in EDI, self-development, and pushing people past their limits. She's helped thousands find their voice. But what happens when she has to do the work too? This week on episode 16 of He's a Guy, we sit down with Coach Carey to break down imposter syndrome, self-doubt, stepping into your identity, and owning your space.
you start to question, like, who am I?
Exactly.
But the willingness to learn, I think, is like not just self-acceptance, but self-awareness.
From coaching to public speaking to traveling the world, this one gets real. And if you think you don't need this conversation, think again. So let me ask you, are you ready to step into your power?
Yes, yes?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Tap into this week's episode.
Welcome back to another episode of He's a Guy podcast with the guys. We have a very, very special guest for you, with us today. But first, little button right there, subscribe. Please do hit that button. You guys are doing a great job. Deshaun has gifts for you guys at every plateau.
What's the next plateau? What is it?
250 subscribers.
250.
250th person gets a gift. But someone actually messaged me as the 200 subscriber and said, "Where's my gift?"
You gotta get that
Now
out
I
to
got
them.
it. Now I gotta get a gift for
You
them.
gotta be a man of the word.
Yeah, I'm a man of my words. So
How you feel about that?
I got a gift coming. I didn't think anybody would take us up on it.
Okay.
You know when you offer something, you're like, "Yo, if you need anything, let me know." It's one of those. They let me know.
Cashing in the chips now.
People want their prize.
You know what I'm saying?
Tell
So,
them again.
okay. Fair enough. I'm gonna come with a prize.
But please do like, comment, and subscribe. More of you guys, put pressure on him. Gifts, you know? But let's go around the room. Little mental check-in. Start with Tashawn. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, brother. You know, I'm out here in my Raptors jersey, coming with a Raptors game today. Supporting the team. Sometimes we don't support our hometown people, our hometown team.
Right. No, I'm a supporter.
I'm a supporter. I love the Raptors, one of my favorite team. I haven't watched them all year.
How about the thing?
I was like, can I interject in there?
Go
I know you
ahead.
interjected in my check here.
No, I'm not. Go ahead, do your thing, bro. Do your thing, brother.
I'm just excited. I'm overall excited to be here. Rhea's joining us, so like
100%.
we've been talking about this for so long. So I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, bless.
Theon, like you said, I'm happy to be here. I mean, I just sitting back and watching the growth of our podcast and just episode to episode, I just feel like, you know, we're all learning and getting better. And like something like I could take away from podcasts is like I had to host a meeting the other day, and I hate public speaking. Hate it with a passion. And it was like almost second nature. And I was like sitting back while I was doing it, and I was like, this is crazy. So you know what I mean? Like while learning different things, like I've learned, I mean, it's helped my ability to speak. So, you know, like it just, to me, it's just like, wow, amazing.
You do look comfortable now, bro.
I feel it, man.
Yeah, fam.
Yeah, I feel it,
actually, I see the growth.
Yeah, I feel it. Before, talk to me one-on-one, it's great. But once you, cameras on or I'm talking in front of groups, I'm like, ugh. Yeah. But you know, I'm grateful, and again, like I said, the growth of our podcast, not just me, everybody here, just grateful for it. Grateful to be a part of the team.
Love that, brother.
Appreciate that, dog. Be honest. You know what I mean? Give yourself thanks, dog. 'Cause, you know what I mean? You come along for real. Bless up. Steph, I'm good. I'm trying not to do the I'm not too bad type of phrase. I don't want to use that anymore, to be honest, because it still gives off that mode that I'm bad still. You know what I mean? So I'm well. I'm doing good. How's
money, brother?
Look good, you feel good.
You play good.
You look expensive. You actually do. You do look
I
expensive.
I've been somewhere, huh?
Yeah.
You just got off a PJ fan.
And we don't stop. Can't say that one. Fred, talk to me. What we doing? How are you?
Terrell, Jimmy, Frecky, whatever you like to call me, you can.
That's a new one.
It's not new. It's just, you know, I put it in there. No.
Yeah, you can't say the same name on it.
Frecky?
Yeah, you know.
heard that one.
You never heard it before?
I never heard it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, no, it's cool, it's cool. You see, Juice has heard it. No, I'm good. Can't complain. You know, healthy. You know, I heard Tashawn was taking me to the Raptors game, so I was like,
Oh, you got together too.
no, I'm lying.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Nah, but I'm good. I'm good. You know, we're gonna pass it on to her. Yeah.
Please introduce us.
I was like, is that
Introduce
why
us.
you're wearing a Canada sweater? Because
No,
you didn't
it-
have anything Raptors
Oh,
available?
it's actually funny because my first Raptor jersey, Tashawn actually gave it to me.
I believe that.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even wear jerseys like that. Like I have like 4 jerseys, and you gave me the Scotty Barnes jersey when we went to the event. You gave me that Scotty Barnes
Could I
jersey.
give it?
One day.
Crazy.
Full circle.
You know what I'm saying? Big moment.
I'm Rhea or Coach Carey, whichever you prefer. All of the above work because Rhea is my first name, Coach is what I do, and Carey is my last name. Coach Carter is my favorite movie.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Right?
love
So I
that
was like, if it
movie.
worked for him, it'll work for me. And then bam, bam. And I feel like I'm good. I'm cruising. You know?
I like
when I
that.
say cruising, I mean like everything is a wave. And sometimes you have your surfboard, and sometimes you don't.
You swim?
Hell yeah. Every day.
Yeah, I love it.
Every day.
I love that.
Love that.
Let's go right off of that, actually. For those who don't know, or if this is your first time meeting Coach Carey, what does that look like? Well, how do we describe what you do? What are we coaching?
So technically, life coaching
Okay.
would be the term.
Mhm.
And I feel that's a way to help someone move through emotions and more set up tools in their life to help them get from where they are now to where they want to go, which makes it a little bit different from therapy and psychiatry. And the reason I like it is because it's more about asking the right questions and actually empowering the person to figure it out themselves. So my job as a coach isn't to tell people what to do or give advice unless they ask me something that I'm an expert in. Otherwise, it's about the questions because like we're all kids at heart.
Absolutely.
And so if you tell a 5-year-old go do that, go clean your room, they're gonna be like, not really. But if the 5-year-old's like, yo, if I clean my room, I might feel better, they're gonna do it and keep doing it. So that's really how I see coaching.
What made you get into that?
You know,
It's a long story.
yeah, I was like, you're not making it to this game. I majored in psychology in university, and I liked that because it let me, cognitively understand the people around me. I really wanted to understand myself and my parents. Parents aren't always, they don't really get you. We come from different generations, and the world has shifted so much. And I knew that would be maybe an avenue that would help me do that. And then it was very not inclusive. I never saw myself represented in the case studies and the learnings and anything. So to me, it felt like a disconnect. How can I support the communities that I'm part of when here learning, I'm not seen? So then I did events for 10 years, which was great. I made a lot of friends and threw a lot of parties and learned a lot about budgets and influencer marketing before it was a thing. But then I felt really unfulfilled. I was like, what am I doing? My brain felt dormant. And that sucks. That's not a good feeling. So then I heard about coaching and I was like, whoa, okay, I can connect all those dots throughout my entire life. And at the end of the day, the root was always to help myself and learn and grow and then take everything I learn and help others. And now that's what I've been doing for the last 10 to 15 years. And I love what I do. I really, really do.
Love that. It's like you're walking in your purpose. Now, 'cause I'm
really
doing
am.
coaching now myself.
I know,
So
yeah.
the way you talk about it, I'm like, yo, I see a lot of that in me too.
100%
So
walking my
inspiring.
purpose, truly. But I always was. Same kid, even in grade 4. When I think about it and I reflect, I'm like, even in grade 2, I was the mediator on the schoolyard. If the kid was playing with the ball for too long or on the slide, they would come to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Or my whole life traveling the world, people would
calling.
tell me their life story. Don't know why.
Yeah.
And then all those dots connected, and it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
For people that are struggling to be themselves, like as a coach, what would you tell them about getting to a place of self-acceptance?
I think self-acceptance is very similar to belonging, but they're a tiny bit different. Belonging, and the reason I say that is because people talk about belonging a lot, and I always say you have to belong within yourself before you can belong anywhere else. And so that's why I feel like self-acceptance is very similar. And so it's kind of really understanding that this is where I am and this is where I'm at and this is who I am. And if there are things that you don't like, you have the power and the privilege and the choice to make changes. And so a lot of people get stuck in, well, I can't make those changes, or I don't have those resources, or I don't have that privilege. And there might be some validity to that, but there's still something we can do, especially in 2025. We have Google. We have free courses. We have resources. We have free therapy now, which was unheard of 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
So self-acceptance is about being okay with where you are in your life in that point in time. And hopefully that can then become like a foundation of who you are. So that no matter what room you're in or who you're speaking to or who annoys you or who triggers you, you're still rooted and grounded in who you are.
Opening it up to the room, kind of like, how do you guys feel about a level of self-acceptance of where we are, where you are individually, maybe in any area, really? Is that something that you guys kind of struggle with? Is that something that you guys have maybe even found a little bit easier than most may find that?
You gonna say something?
Go ahead.
I said for me, it's like, and I've talked about this a little bit. It's just being myself was scary especially like on my own platform, like on Instagram and social media, like actually being me and saying what's on my mind and saying what I think was something that I felt kind of scared of, because I'm like, what are people gonna think? People gonna judge me? Am I gonna look dumb? Am I gonna look goofy? Am I gonna look, because honestly, like, I feel like I come from a family or a culture where it's like we care what people think a lot. And as much as that we say that we don't, we do. So like, especially when you're on camera and things that are living on social media forever, I struggled with being accepted, because it's like, even when I started making content, I would look at what other people are doing and try to do that, rather than just being like, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to say? What do I think? And it was truly scary for me. So like, I'm still on that journey of self-acceptance, but I feel like I'm in a lot better place than I was, because there was a time where it was like, I didn't really even want to share my opinions on things. You know what I mean? Like, even us doing this is like a way of putting ourselves out in a way where it's like we're sharing our opinions on something and saying how we feel. And like, I would feel comfortable doing that with my friends, but outside of that, I was scared. So it's like, I'm still working on it, but I'm in a way better place than I was.
For me, so even when doing this podcast, I remember when Deshaun asked me, like, do you want to be a part of this podcast? I said, yeah, sure, why not? You know, I want to see the team win, do whatever it takes. He goes, but I need one thing from you. And I was like, what's that one thing? He goes, be yourself. And the reason why he told me to be myself is because I know sometimes I can be too much, you know, come off as my personality it's a lot. And sometimes I even look like, ooh, I said that? You know what I mean? So, you know, so I do catch myself, like, you know, turning it down sometimes, and, you know, because I don't want to scare anybody off. But, you know, for, like Tashawn told me, and for everybody, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So that's all I could do.
So you never had an issue being yourself?
I wouldn't say I never had issues, like, you know, because, you know, you always have somebody to tell you to, like, tone it down. Or, for example, like, you being in class, the teacher is always telling you, you know, what was that? You're talking too much, or whatever the case may be is, or, you know, this guy's loud.
Yeah.
You know? But it's how I am, right? And if you don't know me, you would think, like, this guy's an asshole. Right? But realistically, I'm not really an asshole. I'm just, you know, I come off like that. But I don't mean to, like, scare people or, you know, like, want to hurt them, but it is what it is.
They called me scary in school.
Look at you. You look the same.
In grade 4, the teacher was like, I'm scared. I said, what, me?
I feel like for myself, with self-acceptance, it was something I actually dealt with better recently than before. I felt like, especially in a lot of, I guess, things that I've seen growing up, it'd be, I want to say, I don't know how to describe it, but it would be kind of be like you'd be looked down upon if you didn't know that. Like, sort of dumb or whatever if you didn't know the answers to things. So I felt like a lot of times, even I didn't know the answer, I say yes. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of those things like, yo, do you know how to do it? Yep. And I try to learn myself through it.
Oh, I do that all the time.
So that's what I'm saying. Now, even now, though, I feel like even recently in the last few years, I've done better with even self-acceptance of just saying, no, I don't. I think that's been an important thing for me just because a lot of the things that I do know how to do, they've come to me naturally, or I've been able to process it at a speed quicker than maybe most have. So it's like now when people, I relish in those moments where it's like, yo, someone asks me I know how to do something, or if I know the answer to this and I say no and I'm willing to learn those things, I feel like it's helped me feel better and not having to put on this persona of knowing to do everything all the time. You know what I mean?
That's a very classic imposter syndrome
Yeah, you know?
area, the natural genius, you know? And then if it's not, you start to question, like, who am I?
Exactly.
But the willingness to learn, I think, is like not just self-acceptance, but self-awareness. Especially for, you know, people, you know, from the Black community, especially Black men. Y'all haven't never really been taught to be vulnerable to learn and not know. It's figure it out, get it done, keep it moving.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really amazing.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
For me, where I've struggled with acceptance, I feel like I'm like naturally confident person. I feel like anytime I step into a new space, that's where I really struggle with acceptance in terms of like, even with basketball. Playing in a regular game, I'm good. And then stepping into like a championship game, like for my first time, I just remember it's being like feel high emotion. I don't know what this looks like. I don't know. Stepping into a new job role, it's always been something that I've struggled with. I know that I'm more than capable, but then I like you said, I kind of like dumb myself down. I feel like, okay, I don't belong. The imposter syndrome. And I'm just trying, like, I know I still struggle with it, like public speaking, something that I'm working on. But it's like, I think now that I'm older, I'm starting to recognize where I'm like, I'm made to fit in here. I can not fit in, stand out. I don't even like to fit in. That like, yeah, I'm just going through the processes, just me learning kind of and saying like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. That makes sense.
You also speak more than one language, so the fact that you're able to speak in front of people, navigating that while you're processing and thinking is pretty amazing as well. So don't sell yourself short.
I appreciate it.
I got you.
It's amazing. So actually, to kind of veer off of the questions, to ask you personally, is that the support that you gave even in kind of backing up and letting us know that acknowledgement behind something, is that something that you find to come naturally, or is that something that you learned through coaching?
Yeah, so that's something that's always been who I am as a person. Because, you know, I was bullied as a kid, all these things, so I know what it feels like.
Right.
But that also is part of the coaching process. Like,
Okay.
like again, I'm asking questions, but when I'm hearing it, every human has a pattern. I have a pattern, you have a pattern, you have a pattern, everyone has a pattern. And because I've been studying them for so long, that I can hear someone say something and I'm like, oh, it's that pattern probably. So then I know that if I ask these types of questions, it'll get them to where it is they want to go. So I'm just constantly always, whenever I hear patterns, I know where that comes from.
That's amazing.
That's like being attentive in that is
Yes.
special, because I mean, to hear somebody and then to try to apply that to what you've learned, while also it's like there's a uniqueness to everybody.
For sure.
And I guess trying to figure that out when speaking to them is something I find amazing. Now, in of that, how does one find a life coach? How does one go into that and be like, listen, who's there to, like, how do you even seek that out?
Yeah, I think back to that self-awareness, self-acceptance piece, I think that's where it comes from. Because that means that you're at a point where you're willing to accept some kind of support.
Right.
And so that is big for a lot of people. I would say that I guess therapy is a little bit different in terms of you can find them on a little bit more databases, whereas coaching is a little bit more different. So I think you can find them through a few places like any accreditation. So ICF, which is International Coaching Federation, that would be like our bar comparison to law. You can find coaches there, but I think in the way the world has shifted, you can just find them online now. You know, I don't talk about taking on new clients, but I'll get messages from people who want me to coach them, at least 2-3 times a month. So that means they're resonating with just how I show up in the world. And that to me is like the calling of how you'll find your clients, right? So even for you in this, going to this new space, they're going to be like, go out there and find clients. And it's going to be also, but sit back and see who naturally comes to you once you start sharing about what it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
And then there's a natural alignment. You know, because think about how many people who have been through 10 therapists and they're like, I just didn't connect with them. And then you meet someone and you're like, whoa. And if you happen to find out that person is a coach or a therapist, you're like, I want to work with them. So wait for those people, you know, and that's what I had to teach myself too. And now it's just, let's see who resonates with how I show up in the world, because those are the kinds of people I want to work with.
How's that journey been for yourself? Like even in trying to
Finding a coach?
get into that, or not only finding a coach, but you said you're now in the journey of being one, right? So it's like, do you see the alignment and how that works already, or is that something that you're trying to work towards? Like anything that she was speaking of just now, it's like, how does that show up for you now?
I think I'm a big believer in life now, especially is like cut asking the what ifs and just dive in and see what happens. So coaching for me was that. A couple things. I want to get into coaching, but I said I would never do it without having one myself. So that was the first thing. Like I don't like to give people advice on to do things that I have not done myself. That's like, I'm so big on that. So I'd never be like, go on a retreat, never been on a retreat. I'd never say go to coaching, go to therapy. I would never tell you to do that if I haven't done it. So with coaching, it was that. And I didn't have a coach. And I actually met my coach, funny enough, in spin class.
Alignment.
I don't go to spin class. I went one time, my guy Miggs was teaching a spin class. He goes, yo, fam, come to the spin class. I came, there's another black guy in the class. After the class, he came and said, yo, bro, I see you in there. You're doing your thing. I'm like, you too, bro. He goes, yeah, I'm from New York. I'm like, okay. He goes, let's connect. And so we just took each other's contact. And then he's like, you seem interesting. What do you do? We jumped on a call. He's like, I'm a life coach. And I'm like, bro, I've been looking for one. And I actually like you. Like, he was a good guy. We just vibed. And then from then on, I would work with him every week. And it felt like, it's so interesting. He felt like a father figure in a weird way that I never had. Not to say I didn't have a father, but he had that presence for me where it was just like, I trusted him in a different type of way. And it's like, he would give me so much insight without giving me the insight. Like he would ask me questions that would unlock things within myself I didn't even know I knew. And a big part of like why last year was such a big year for me was because I had a coach. And then I started taking a coaching program. And I think for me, one of the biggest things I learned out of it was literally just how to listen better. And what Rhea was pretty much saying is like when she sees patterns and when people are speaking, it's because you hear the language people use. And it's like even when I talk to the guys, and we used to joke, you'd be like, yo, I'm broke, dog. We used to make that joke all the time. And now we talk about, stop making that joke, because it's like the language we use, now we're moving with a broke mentality because of the words we're using. It's like when you identify patterns, you can hear people saying, I can't, or I wish, or I should have, those are patterns, right? And we get stuck in cycles. I think coaching taught me how to listen better. When I hear people saying things, I'm like, okay, this is what you're actually saying. Even though you're telling me a story, I'm hearing how you think. And how you think sometimes keeps you in a certain place. And it's like, how do we get you to the place that you really want to go? And for that, you have to change the way you think. I said a lot there, but I said a lot there.
We were tracking.
Yeah, no, I'm following. Now getting back to, I guess that was just sidetrack, but in terms of the questions now, how do you feel like being true to yourself, getting back to the self-acceptance and being true, how do you feel like that has shaped your relationships and things along your journey, therefore, like with his family, intimate relationships, friendships?
Yeah, I think it plays a role in anything and everything I do, right? The foundation of who you are is going to play a role in how you show up in the world. And I think for me, I got really lucky where my parents allowed me to sort of teach them who I am rather than them saying, you have to be like this. I was always different. My older sister was a little bit more type A, so she was like, yep, I'm coming, curfew's 10, she's coming home at 9:45. Curfew's 10 for me, I'm coming home at 1 a.m. So, and they taught me to self-advocate. So when the world looked at me in a very different way, being, chubby, masculine representing, the only kid of color in all of my classes and my neighborhood, they prepared me for what that might look like. And instead of letting that hinder me and make me see myself differently, I was prepared and I already saw myself as Rhea. And so anything else that anyone brought to me or came to me, it didn't really matter. And that has been the foundation of everything I've done since then and to continue. Moving through the world as a queer Black woman, I'm always up against more. I can't say things that I might want to say because it's going to be potentially perceived differently, or, she's ghetto, things like that. And if I fall into that trap and I stay there, then I don't actually get to bring people along the journey with me. I'd rather people meet me and have perhaps a different experience or shift how they think of people or think of people that look like me and maybe represent like me. So I think that being consistently true to myself, and one of the ways I was able to do that is with my values. My values were always very clear from a young age, helping people, respect, taking care of myself. I love to make people laugh, but that was my way of building those bridges of kindness. And still to this day, that's everything I do. And it's weaved into my coaching. It's weaved into my life. And I think had I seen myself differently, then I don't think I would have been able to instill the confidence within myself that I do have. And so no matter what room I'm in or who's talking to me, you're getting the same Rhea. On social media, you're getting the same Rhea. And that has allowed me never waver. Like I think of the Maya Angelou poem, I can't be, or Still I Rise. And she's like, I can't be moved. Same. You see me a certain way? Cool. Anytime I travel and I go to these luxury hotels, I'm experiencing all kinds of discrimination and racism. And immediately the response that you want to have is sort of, you're mad. But if I respond that way, then, and this is the lesson my dad taught me at a young age, was you become what they expect you to be. And so in that moment, I have 2 seconds to decide how I want to show up. And do I want this to be a learning experience or do I want to go off? I want to go off, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to fight with my language, because that's how my parents taught me, instead of my fists, and bring them along the journey. And then that has proven to get me more people to treat people who look like me differently and better and understand better, and business, because they saw my approach. Instead of me going off on you, I said, hey, just want to let you know that you treated me like this. That's how you treat everybody. And now they're in their own stuff being like, whoa. So all that to say is that I can't be moved. And so being rooted in myself and my values and that self-acceptance allows me to show up the same way no matter the space.
I have wow. I think for me, like, one thing that I was wondering, like, from what you even said there was like, I know even being part of the queer community for you, was there a moment, was there a moment that you were scared to be yourself in that space and a hump you had to go over? Is there a moment that stands out to you where you got over that hump?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I think, having a old school Caribbean father, I was a little bit worried about how he may react to it. So there was a little bit of that. And I went to an all-girls private school for grades 7, 8, and 9. And so I had this thought that if I tell them that I'm gay, then they're going to think that I have a crush on every single person in my class, which obviously isn't true or realistic. So I would say those were the two things, but they were never big enough, because at the end of the day, I was, again, so rooted in me that instead of being like, oh my God, you're a lesbian, I'd just be like, I'm Rhea. And I was friends. I had lots of guy friends. I had lots of female friends. I was like, I'm just showing up as me. And the people who saw me for me got that. And the people who didn't see me like that weren't for me. And I stayed focused on the people who saw me for that. So that's why whenever I connect with new people and we just vibe and we kiki, I'm always like, I appreciate you seeing me for me. Because I know that you've been taught to maybe not see me like that. And I think that that's been a way for me to not get lost in how other communities or even my own community might see me for being, dressing masculine, even just being queer in itself.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, so even staying on the topic of respecting people for who they are, like you touched on a story of even going to hotels or anything like that, where establishments, to I guess generalize it, but
Yeah.
why do you think people are still in that judgy, like, because it shows a lot about themselves too, right? So it's like they haven't maybe come to a place of self-acceptance,
For sure.
right?
And I think,
That's a loaded question.
yeah.
But just I guess again, why do you think people are still judged for the way that they love or how they identify? Or
Yeah, I think it's definitely a combination of things, but I think we've been conditioned to think a certain way. And then I think if you add who your parents are and how they were raised, and then you add where you're from and where your family might live, that's going to impact it even more as well. I think a lot of it stems from the conditioning that is usually from the generation before us. You know, and once I realized that, I had more compassion for my parents. Instead of being like, oh, and like want to get angry and combative, I was like, oh, you just weren't taught this. You didn't have the resources that I have. So it's now my job, all of our jobs, to bring the next generation on the journey with us because we have the privilege to do so that they didn't have, you know? Very much like for a lot of Black families, the love language to know that you are loved is you have a roof over your head and food on the table, right? Right?
Straight up.
Our parents weren't like taught to say, I love you.
Facts.
If you have food on the table and a roof over your head, I love you. But as a young woman, I wanted to hear, I love you from my dad.
Absolutely.
And when I didn't hear it, I was mad. But then when I recognized that, it was like a complete shift. And then I just started saying, I love you all the time. And then I didn't get upset when he didn't say it back. And now at 38, my dad, you know, says, I love you in every text. And so instead of like giving him shame, I just brought him in. So I think it really stems from the next the generation before us. And I have I'm not upset with that. If anything, I want to show them that, hey, guess what? I can be successful, funny, kind, cute, and you can see me for that. And then me just being queer is just like another little thing that happens to be there too. And if that's what we can do, then most of the time I've never been really disrespected by people from my community or older generations. And so I feel like if I can turn even the toughest of critics, or they may not say, okay, cool, bet you're queer, but they'll say, I love you and you're welcome at my table. Same thing.
We'll take that one for sure.
I'll take that. Yeah.
For the rest of us in the room, how do you guys feel, or what do you feel like would be some of the reasons why we still judge people for, you know, the people that they choose to love or how they love or the spaces that they would like to be in that we don't include them in? Like, what do you think some of those reasons are?
I used to think it was ignorance, but like even hearing you speak and being a parent now, we're all on our own life journey. And a lot of times we hold on to the things that we were taught. And for like old Caribbean parents, like, you know what I mean? Certain things they just can't see past because that's what they've known. If they're like 70 years, they've known it for 70 plus years. I think we're in a generation now where a lot of things have been at the forefront of our minds and we've seen it. And we're more accepting to it, but sometimes it is ignorance, though.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like if you go certain places and they just treat you bad just off the way your appearance, it doesn't make any sense to me because you don't know what values I hold. You don't know who I am as a person. It's sad, to be honest with you. Like I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not getting to know people for who they are. You're just judging off of what you see. And I mean, I encourage people to try to dive in and talk to other people and see what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you don't know about a certain community, if you don't know about a certain race, talk to them. You know what I mean? Like what's the worst that they're going to tell you?
100%. And even if you don't understand everything, can we at least have respect for another human?
Simply.
Right? And I think that, to me, feels like the easier foundation to get to for the people who maybe, you know, not as aware, as active on the journey of learning more about other people as we might hope they'd be.
Yeah.
Cool. Can we come to just respect? You don't have to fully understand it. You don't have to love me. but can you at least have respect for me just like I would have respect for you?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can wrap their head around that a little bit easier as well.
For me, so I have a family member actually that before we go on, I think it's generational ignorance, right? Because we're not taught correctly. As kids, we make fun of these things, not knowing what it's doing to the other person, right? So going to that, like my grandpa, he passed away. One of his kids came out and said that, he's not interested in the opposite sex. And my grandpa, old Jamaican man, didn't take it well. He just said, "You're not my son."
Yeah.
Right? Shut him out. I remember one time we went to his house and I said, "Where's so-and-so?" I don't want to say his name. And it's like he didn't even hear me. He's like, "How was your day?"
He heard you.
From his mind.
No, I know he heard me. I know he heard me. He's like, "Yo, how was your day?" And I'm looking around the room.
Just
I'm like,
asked you, right?
Yeah.
is he being serious right now? But he's being serious, not cracking a smile, not like pictures off the wall. But then like he got cancer, and then I guess he realized like how he was acting up when everybody was telling him over these years that what you're doing to your son is actually breaking him down more than him, telling you what's going on in his life. Like you're killing him more than you're killing yourself right now. And then, like I said, he got cancer, and then, his eyes started opening up a little bit more to like, what was he really mad about, And when he passed away, started seeing my uncle more, and, it went from not seeing him at all because he distanced himself from the family as well. God knows what my grandpa said to him. And, it was good seeing him, right? Because we're not really judging him on who he likes or whatever he decides to do. We're seeing him as, this is our family member that we haven't seen in a while. We don't know where he went. Like, and I didn't hear from him for like 12 years. And then when I saw him, the first time I saw him was at the funeral, right? In 12 years. And, he embraced, he said, "You guys are going to see me more." And yeah, it was good seeing him. So like I was saying, people not knowing when you're making fun of the person that, whatever they chose in their life, you don't know what you're doing to them in the inside, right? They might be tough on the outside, but in the inside, you don't know what you're actually doing to them. So that's why I say it's generational ignorance.
That's beautiful, though, that he was able to
Looking at
recognize
all.
what's most important here.
Yeah, he
The
did.
person he loves, or just like the fact that he's still my son, but also, an old school Jamaican man, your whole
Trust me, they're
life
stubborn.
was taught that is like
Yes.
wrong, not just from society, but from, the Bible. Jamaica is one of the most like Christian islands there is, right? So it's like, that's why I always say I have to try to have compassion, because I'm not mad that you've been thinking this way. And to turn a 70-year-old's mind is obviously going to be difficult, know? So
You weren't changing his mind until he was on like the way out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think like in
mine
life,
changed nevertheless, though.
I think in life sometimes like we hold values and we don't even know. Like, for instance, I'm not trying to get into politics or anything, but like in the States, a lot of people are like, I'm on this party, just because they're parents. You know what I mean? Not because of the topics that we're presenting or how it benefits me. Oh, just my parents were this, I'm doing this, right? It's like getting knowledge, figuring out what's going on, not just sticking to, like you said, generational ignorance and following it because that's what people told you.
100%. And even like when I think about it, like I always say, like humans, we're gonna judge each other. Like let's not pretend like we're not gonna judge. We always are, because we want to be able to put somebody in a category. It's now when we start saying we're better than them or they're worse than us because we've put them in a category that becomes problematic, and we have to question where these categories even come from. Because we do it all the time. We see somebody in a do-rag and a white Benz, we're gonna be like, "Oh, that's a drug dealer." If we see something, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain
Steph's ready for you.
no, there's certain things that we see people and we want to put them in boxes, and to me, it's because the media.
Yeah.
It's because of our experiences, and it's because of what we've been passed down.
Yeah.
And we have to take a minute sometimes and reevaluate those things, because people are just people at the end of the day, and we're not judging people for what they look like, more so their character. Their character is what matters most.
And that's exactly the definition of like an unconscious bias. media, parents, this, that. We all have it. Every single person has a bias, an unconscious bias. We all have it, but it's just what you do with it. That's why I'm always like respect and awareness. Because if you can be, like that example you used, we probably would all think that. But that person could probably also just be like, yo, grandpa on his way to pick up his kid from soccer. You know, but
Simply fair.
if they stopped the car and asked us for directions, we would all still answer. Because we would put,
We hope.
listen, you're not allowed to move. Don't laugh. The sound dude's gonna be mad at you, bro. You know what I mean? But that's moving through the unconscious bias. So if we're able to do it in like those types of examples, we're probably able to do it in others.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And most people don't know what their values are. Like you said, they're instilled in us from when we were 5.
Yeah.
So if I were to ask you all, what are your top 5 values right now? You probably wouldn't be able to answer, and most people can't.
I mean, answer. You don't know why though.
Or that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's
That's good.
connecting back to your values.
Now we kind of answered some of us or whatever, but how do we kind of create those spaces now to include people of whether it's gender, the sexuality, the difference in mindset? Because I feel like that's what it boils down to. And I feel like we live in so the differences is what I think is what it boils down to. We always are going to judge, like you said, the unconscious bias. Things are going to be different. People are going to be different. I think our world is boring if everybody's in the same space, doing the same things, doing, you know what I mean, looking the same. Like, I think the world would be boring. We'd be upset here, you know, naturally. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, people are going to be different naturally. And when we do come across those moments of differences, we start to be like, well, this is different. So how do we now create spaces that invite people to be different, celebrate that they are different, but still be respectful?
I would say just treat everybody equal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Without looking at, oh, that's a male, that's a female, that's somebody that likes somebody else or whatever. Just look at everybody equally in the room, and you wouldn't even notice the difference, right? Because once you start talking to them, you'll realize that person's no different than you.
I think setting the example is another one. Just like being unapologetic about being yourself as well. Because I think when you set that example of being yourself and being unapologetic in that, you invite others to do the same. So I think it's just like, and I say that because sometimes I struggle with it, but it's like, well, publicly. Behind closed doors with the man, they know who I am. You guys know who I am. But sometimes like I have struggled with that in the past, but it's like just being unapologetically you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not by offending people, but actually being like, saying what's on your mind, showing what you want to show, having fun in the way you want to have fun, like really being yourself, because you encourage and invite others to do the same.
Mm-hmm. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but, you know, everyone's going through something. I really just try to think about that. Like, you're a human with a heart beating in your chest that no one can explain or have to think about it doing that. It just does it.
Yeah.
And here you are in a space, cool, let me get to know you as a human. It's kind of like when you go out and you're networking and the only thing people ask about is what you do for a living. It's kind of annoying. But when you go into a different space and people are just like, yo, what inspires you? Or you're like, wow, this was an incredible conversation and now I want to connect this person more, and you didn't need to know what they were doing for a living. Similar to someone's identity, unless they care to share, it kind of doesn't give me a reason to have to treat them differently. I want to treat them, like you said, like their character.
That's a good point. That was a message I heard in church this morning. Everybody's in the middle of something.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, it changes the way you see the world. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Well, they're probably going through. They probably have to get to the hospital to deliver a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would change your mentality being cut off rather than thinking, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
Let me go cut him back off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it changes the way in which you see the world. And it's like, you move with more compassion. You're like, everybody's going through something.
For sure. So I think it's less about what we can do to invite people into the space and more about how we decide to show up in this space.
Like that. Now, I guess, again, a question for the room. In your guys' opinions, what do you think the difference is between curiosity and disrespect when discussing identity? When is something going too far? When are you prying too far? What's a curious question versus a disrespectful question?
I feel like I've gotten them all. I get a lot of questions. I myself am pretty open, but it depends on the person.
That's what I do
You know,
too.
like if a random person on the street asked me, I'd be like, "That's a weird move, bro." But right, but if it's a close friend who's like, "Listen, I've not been around a lot of queer people, and I don't want to go into a space and offend someone. Can I ask you some questions?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's do this." And I think with the difference between curiosity and potentially being inappropriate or kind of on that boundary is the intention behind it. Are you asking me these questions because you care and you want to know and you want to think differently? Or are you asking me these questions because you want to weaponize it against me?
Do you preface with that? Like, would you preface with that?
It would depend on who's asking me. That would just be my only kind of assessment within myself. But I also feel like if I can shine a light, and I'd rather them have the experience with me because I'm not going to take it personally. Even when I do like anti-Black racism training, I'm like, ask your questions here because I'm not going to take it personally. I'd rather you ask me than like go out there and maybe ask someone who's not playing with you.
Yeah, literally.
You know, but yeah, I've definitely had like questions like, how do girls have sex together? And I'm like, oh man, all right.
Here we
Talk
go.
about it, yeah, you know, but it's usually from men.
Right.
So then if it's from men, I can speak to them in like a way that guys can understand it, you know? So I'm talking their language and then they get it and we just laugh together.
Yeah.
We keep it moving, yeah.
It's interesting. Like when I think about that, when I think of like curiosity versus disrespecting, it was almost like a situation where I felt like I disrespected somebody unintentionally. And it was when I went to, I was at a restaurant having dinner, and then the server after dinner, I was like, thanks, bro. You did such a great job today. And they were like, don't call me bro. And I was like, my bad, man. And then they looked at me again, and it was just like, I disrespected this person without even knowing. And I was curious, but I wasn't in a space where I could ask about their gender, how they identified, how I didn't have that opportunity. And it was like, I felt like I disrespected someone unintentionally, but I didn't, when I look back at it, I didn't know how to move differently.
Maneuver the situation.
That's a tricky one. Yeah. Because if they knew you, they would probably know your intention, but they didn't know you. And they probably have had bad experiences like that before, you know. Like walking into a women's washroom, I've had people be like, oh my God, my daughter, a man is in here. And then I'm like, do you see facial hair? Do you hear my voice? Do you see an Adam's apple? Girl, calm down. You know, but other people can take that really personally.
Oh, that happened to me the other day. So we do security, and person walked into the washroom, and I didn't know, but I just saw from behind. So I'm like, "Excuse me, sir, you can't." She turned around, upset at me, and when I tried to apologize after, she kind of gave me the finger. But I was like, "I understand. I'll take that to the chin because it was, it was my mistake. It was my mistake."
Yeah.
But then I turned around and she's like, "That's not how you approach people." And I said, "I'm sorry," and then she's like, still gave me the finger, and she walked away.
But you were also coming from a protective space rather
right?
than a whoa, I'm trying to identify people.
And that's why I think it's kind of unique in every setting. So that's why I said, when you said it's person to person or case by case, it's kind of, trying to quickly evaluate that as the moment is happening. Because in your space, in your stance, you're like, well, it's just a Ebonics type of thing where you're like, thanks, bro. You know, it's nothing really intended behind any of that, but it just becomes one of those things where it's like, now he may take, and it's nothing on you, honestly. From hearing that, it's nothing on you.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, you don't know people's boundary or offense when they're going to take it, whenever. So it really does vary.
100%.
I guess humility just has to take a role. So like you even, in your story now, taking that upon yourself to be like, I apologize, you know, and not taking offense back to their taking offense. It's like, again, all circling back to understanding and,
For sure.
you know, the respect.
And ultimately, I think that no one is expecting every single person to get it perfectly. Even within the queer community, people have misgendered people or potentially used the wrong pronouns or whatever it might be. Nobody's perfect. You know, I even have had the similar experience where, because I call everyone broski. You know, especially if it's a more masculine representing woman. So masculine representing means like a woman who would like dress like me, masculine representing. And I did that to someone who is trans man. So they transitioned from being a woman to a man. And I said, thanks, broski. And on a comment, and they DM'd me. This is someone I know, and DM'd me and said, "Hey, I don't like masculine terminology." And I said, "Okay, thank you for letting me know, and I apologize. I won't do that going forward." So I'm not perfect either. We can't expect everyone to know everything, and I think that's like a reminder to you all or anyone who's listening. Like, also give yourself compassion. This is learning for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's so your question was curiosity to disrespect. I was thinking about this, and I really don't know how to truly answer it, but I just think it gets disrespectful to me when you're, being aggressive towards the person and then calling them names,
Yep, 100%.
right? And then it's like, but are they educated on it? You get what I'm saying? So I don't know if and then the curiosity is like, if I call them this name, how are they going to take it? Am I going to disrespect them? Because right now, I feel like I'm kind of holding back on what words to use to what not to use because I don't want to offend anyone, right? Because I'm not educated on
But
that.
you're
I'm not.
curious
Yeah,
on how it will go.
I am, but I'm not fully educated to know what words to use at the right time.
But you're humble enough to apologize if you didn't get it right. And I think in those moments, that's usually what the person is looking for. Even though that person gave you the finger in that moment.
I understand why they gave that.
Yeah. But I think in most scenarios, it's the recognizing and apologizing, and we keep it moving.
Real.
Yes.
Love, dating, and relationships.
Jeez.
Now,
all in one.
Yeah.
so you mentioned even before, a lot of men sometimes, well, not a lot of men, but in your cases, experiences, men have been the one to kind of come to you and ask certain things about that.
Yeah.
But a woman dating a woman now, have your insights about relationships kind of changed because you kind of have the insider scoop of being a woman, but also understanding, you know what I mean? I don't want to get too much.
100%.
Is that the drop?
100%. 100%.
You got a cheat code in there.
100%.
Yeah.
I am one.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
So it's of course I know the cheat code. I am one. I know exactly. But I think for me, I've always described myself as a hybrid. Even when I was in grade 4, that's probably how I came out to my parents. I never came out to my parents. I was just me. But I said, I don't want to do ballet anymore, and I want to dress like a boy, and I think I'm a hybrid. And they were like, what is that okay? Because to me, it felt like, well, sometimes I'm more feminine, sometimes I'm more masculine, and I don't have any control over that. There's moments where I'm like, and there's other moments where I'm like, yo. And it just happens. It just happens, you know? And because my parents were supportive, they allowed me to figure that out on my own. And that's why I'm the Ray you see now. So in the realm of dating, I feel like because I was around I had so many guy friends growing up, I had a bit of that conditioning. It was very much like, ooh, if you treat your woman well, you're a little bish. And I had that in the back of my mind in some ways without me knowing. I think it was really subconscious.
Yeah.
And then because I have a lot of female friends who are sisters to me, they're going to put you in your place and tell you about yourself and call you in. So I learned a lot about the dynamics of dating in that way. And then that's when I feel like I started creating the cheat code. Because I was like, oh, okay, it's actually like this. So, Ty and I have talked about it a lot, that I feel like I always wanted to create a workshop about, how to be a player without being an asshole. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn that, Ty and I have talked about is really ensuring that you're giving the person you're dating, but in this context, we're talking about dating a woman. So giving the woman the choice. So I would always be like, well, if I'm dating 5 girls and she doesn't know, it's fine. But what that actually is a form of manipulation.
Absolutely.
Because you're not giving her the choice to decide if that's something she's willing to do. Even if you're in a we're not committed space, there's still other variables. So I started shifting that and be like, listen, I like you, but I'm also dating a couple other people. If that's not something you're cool with, cool. And if it is, cool. Most of the time, the women were like, yeah, thanks for being honest. And now I'm like, this is the cheat code. Because now it's like I was getting what I wanted without hurting anybody. And that was then what I started to teach my guy friends. And it was a game changer because it's like, you can still respect a woman, but still not have to commit and or lie to her. You know how hard it is to keep up with lies after the age of 25?
There's so much going on in life, bro.
Right. It's like, who can remember what you did yesterday? And then if you're lying, your lies are catching up to you. Now you're hurting people.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately to the core, not many people want to purposely hurt people, So I feel like that's the cheat code, is just genuinely being honest and communicating instead of being like, if I don't tell her, then she'll continue to date me. Nah, you might take a couple L's with some.
Yeah.
But most are going to be like, thank you for telling me. And if they catch more feelings, then they'll communicate and then you make a decision.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the cheat code that I wish I had learned sooner.
Wow. Yeah, like I've learned that just recently. Just keep it 1,000. And it's been a game changer. Because like remembering lies is hard.
You have spoken about that. I'll give him credit for that. You have spoken about that on this podcast in prior episodes where you're like, yo, we feel like as men, we often have to control the narrative. And that has hurt us in the long run because trying to keep up with these lies or trying to keep up with the, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we're not lying, but we're not.
Holding information.
Yeah.
We're
omitting the truth.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're trying to prevent you from being hurt.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just trying to absolve ourselves of any things from all different angles. Kind of like you have. I'll give you credit for that. Still. You brought that up.
Yeah, that's his quote. Why are we always holding information?
That's it.
Put all the information on the table,
yeah.
and then you literally get to move through life like way more chill.
Yeah.
Way more chill.
You're lighter. When you just get the truth off your chest, it's hard in the beginning, but easier in the end.
Yeah.
Versus when you're lying,
Yes.
it's easier in the beginning.
Sorry to that.
It's hard in there. But all the lies unravel when there's two niggas and then two.
Two showed up.
Bro, let me tell you, it is tough.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's so much lighter, and then you find that because you've been so vulnerable and honest, they're gonna give you the real on the other side. And you might even find out things you didn't even know. You know what I mean? And it's like your relationship could go even deeper because they know you always kept it real. So it's like, even if you said, I'm talking to 2-3 people right now, and then that ends up being the person you wanna be serious with, now they know that you always kept it a buck with them. And they're not like, they don't have this weight on their heart like this person used to lie to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. For me, it feels like that is the cheat code. Is that the only cheat code? You got more?
From what I have on this here, how about that? What made men overlook now when it comes to dating? You know what I mean?
Listen, I've got tons of cheat codes. I'm not gonna lie, but it's like, am I trying to give them all out? Okay, I would say another one is calls. In 2025, everyone is texting, DMing. If you really like a woman, say like, hey, can we like intentional time? So I'd love to hear about your day. Game changer. But can I call you tonight? And if she's feeling you, she's gonna want that because that's a different level of hearing about your day and that intentionality. A lot can be lost in text.
Absolutely.
If you text me, go, how was your day? I was like, lit. But if you call me like, how's your day? I'm like, well, this happened and that happened and that happened and that happened. You miss all that over text. So I would say that's a big thing. And then consistency, you know, like especially in the beginning, you've got to stay consistent. For me, I always had like a 3-date rule within the first 3 weeks.
Okay.
Calls and texts in between. And from there, you can assess a lot. You think, okay, do I like this one? Do I not like this one? What are the vibes with this one? Am I getting do I see more with this person or not? I would also say another cheat code is like the sexiness of consent in every sort of way. I feel like for younger men especially, that's not something that's talked about. We didn't really ever hear about that either, even in my own age.
Absolutely.
So I think even if it's, you know, you're getting intimate more so for the first few times, like consent still matters. I'm like, how real are we getting here? But I'm like,
Say what's on your heart.
yeah, okay, so I'm giving an example. I'm also like I'm talking to the mandem right now, as well.
Yeah, get your notebooks out, man.
Right? But let's say you're being intimate and it's your second time and you're being a little bit more aggressive now. Let's fire up that consent. It's not going to ruin the moment. If anything, it's going to make her lean in more. You know, because we can't assume that everything is going to be exactly just because we're making out. Especially in the beginning, it's like each stage requires consent. And I feel like that's actually sexy. 'Cause it's like, oh man, we're on the same page. There's no potential discrepancies. Who wouldn't like that? And then obviously once you're dating longer or whatever, it's like, okay, then things are a bit more established. And it also keeps everybody safe. And then
Absolutely.
even if things don't go wrong, you don't have to worry about that girl or that person keying your car, or you see her at a bar, like, hide, she's gonna go off on me. You know, that's like not a good feeling. Instead,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, hope you're well.
Yeah.
There's always, you never have like super bad vibes with anybody if you go about it in that everything in a more respectful, everything on the table manner. Yeah.
So consent as a, do you like when I do this to you type of vibe?
Or right before you're about to do it, like, is that okay?
Yeah.
For me, especially like that in the beginning, I'll like if we're using because you put your hand like that. So I'm like, are you using the example of choking?
Ooh, I did that?
You did, yeah.
I thought it was for mine. I thought it was for mine.
I'm like, what is on your mind? I'm like, where did you?
I thought I did this.
Just grabbing
I
the
thought I
hand?
was lifting.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was lifting. It was, you know when you talk with your hands? I wasn't
keep me honest.
demonstrating action. You know I do this?
Yeah.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
It looks like, give me more.
Bring your attention.
When you did this, you're choking somebody.
I'm gonna roll the tape back. I don't know if I did that.
You're choking, my G.
But again, asking like if you would like if I did
Yeah,
this.
or
you
is
know
this
what I mean?
okay?
Is
Like
this
whisper
okay
it
if
in
I
her
did
ear.
this?
Like we still can be sexy.
Yeah.
But consent is literally sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a simple thing that the generations to come, especially young men and even young women, being like, it's okay for you to want that, you know? And I think is great. And it makes everything better.
Yeah.
Boom. So those are some cheat codes. If you want more, you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
We're gonna need more time.
Ladies, ladies in the comments.
We gotta develop something. We gotta
yeah,
talk about
100%.
We'll get back to this.
Ladies in the comments, let us know if those cheat codes are actually working or not. Some of the guys out there would like to know.
Please. Try to become better men here.
something. Now listen, even phone call.
I was gonna say I
changer.
could touch on that in my own relationship. Like,
Live.
even when we first started talking. You know what I mean? Like started texting, but it's like, hey, I just finished work. You want to jump on the phone, and then you'll just see it progress, and just and like even now I'm thinking about it. I'm like stuff that you're saying, I could bring back into it. Like, you know what I mean? Because again, you get so used to doing it, and it
100%.
just becomes whatever.
100%.
But go ahead, sir.
Even if you've been long term, like date night is a real thing. It's not just about spending money and doing this and doing that. It's about that intentional time. It is so easy to be like, yeah, day was good. We're watching TV now. We're eating. Like at the end of the long day, do you really want to unpack everything all the time? No, you're tired.
Yeah.
So once a week, once I'm in a relationship, I'm always like once a week, which I'm currently in. So once a week is date night no matter what. Because I want to hear about your day and the things I missed. But also it's a great opportunity to bring up things that you may not get a chance to that are for both of you to work on. Because you know, sometimes if you're sitting next to each other, you're like, what'd you do wrong? It can feel intense.
Yeah.
But if you're at dinner, you're having a drink and you're chilling and you're like, what's one thing I could do better? Now you're inviting her in the safe space. And then because you're chilling and you're not mad, you're receiving it differently. You know, so I think that's a great place for any relationship to get those unique bits and pieces.
I watched a podcast on Diary of CEO, and I guess he was speaking to this. I forgot her name, but it was a lady. But she was saying one thing that she implemented in her relationship was when they're on date night, 3 things that you like about each other, and never repeat the same thing. Keeps you really makes you dive in. I think that's a cheat code too, because
100%.
wow,
100%.
I would definitely lose. Because no. Where did we go? We went to the cottage, and you guys said they're like, write down 3 things you like about, or say something nice about one person. So when it came to my turn, I was like, "Eesh." And then Sean goes, "I'm waiting." And I couldn't think of anything.
That's why, bro. Put him on the spot.
Now you see why I go after him, right?
I'm not with you two somehow, bro.
But a lot. You have low key game, bro. You share the game, brother. I didn't know you're holding on to all these.
That's
cheat
why
codes.
he's in a relationship.
fam.
Yeah,
The good
man.
ones are always in relationship.
You're a smooth
Thank
one.
you, I appreciate that.
But what I want to say was like a lot of the things like these are great cheat codes, and like one other thing I observed this week, I randomly met this girl and she was talking about like, how she had a lot of relationships with guys that didn't go well, and then she's like, oh yeah, my most recent relationship was with a woman. And I was like, interesting. Like, what's the biggest difference that for you between dating a guy and dating a woman. And she was like, women actually listen. She's like, they actually hear you. They actually like, and when they listen, it's like they do it in a thoughtful way. So it's like you said something and they held on to it and they're like, okay, you know what? You know, you're struggling with this thing.
Yeah.
I got you something to help you with that. Well, you said that, you know, you had a really hard week. I got a massage for you. I ran a bath for you. It's like they listen. She said that was the biggest difference.
100%. Two things. Maybe it's not a cheat code. Maybe it's just the things we didn't know about how to be better men in relationships. Because I'm speaking to my masculine side too. I always said the woman in me was mature. She's got it. The man, the like little boy in me didn't mature until I was like in my late 20s, you know? But I think naturally women also just have the spaces to talk about their feelings more. There's nothing more sacred than sisterhood.
Yeah.
You can, so we've been conditioned our whole lives to have safe spaces, to have these conversations, whereas men typically weren't. So when women get together, whether it's romantic or not, it's just a little bit easier because that emotional intelligence and vulnerability is immediately available. I could do a keynote in a room full of women and now we're all crying. I don't know, we're all strangers. Whereas if I do a keynote for a room full of men, sometimes it could be crickets. But after they all come talk to me. 80% of my clients are men. But my demographic on social media and every other platform is 80% women.
Interesting. So actually going into that coach growth and building inclusive spaces, I want to ask you now,
Are you obsessed with me? No, I'm just kidding.
low-key, 'cause the coaching space is like super interesting. Like
Yeah.
it's especially for people that may have negative experiences with the actual like talk therapy type of deal, but they can receive similar things from the coaching spaces, right? So do you bridge these kind of gaps with your friendships and family and like it? I don't know how to properly word this question, but let's just like your personal growth journey of yourself. I see you mirroring a lot of things that now you've learned and also teaching, but to us now, how would you say that we can go about that? We're not life coaches, right? So if we're to take away something from all of this and what you're teaching us,
Yep.
how do we now implement that in our own personal growth journeys?
Yeah. I think it's a good question because similar to what Ty was saying earlier in terms of, you know, you wouldn't talk about something you haven't experienced. Same for growth. So everything that I talk about are things I've gone through and going through. People ask me every day, you know, how are you so confident? I'm like, it takes work every single day. I'm not just like, ooh, I'm done and I'm healed forever. That's unrealistic. It takes work every single day. So I consistently am doing this work. And that's why I'm able to show up in the way that I am. And then I would say for anybody, I always leave people with these three things. And so now that you asked, I have to share it. I would say number one is have a hobby, joy. People think joy and happiness are the same thing. They are not. Happiness you can find in anything. Right now, I'm happy. And if we were to start laughing, that's joy. That's something that I'm bringing out within myself. So joy is something that's like a hobby. So when you guys are playing basketball tonight, that's probably joy because it's something you're doing just for you, really. That'll always manage your energy.
Joy.
It feels like pain now.
Now we're fresh out of that mess.
Sorry to cut you off.
I was like, you're not gonna let me have it? No, totally fair. But you know, hobbies that are like just for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And that helps you manage your energy. And the reason I say that is because even if, let's say you had, you know, you haven't left the house in 5 days, snowstorm, you and your girl are off, that would then become joy. Because now you're moving your body, you're releasing happy hormones to your brain. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's still joy. But right now, maybe not because you've had a long day. But in those tough moments, joy and a hobby will always bring you back to equilibrium. Then my second thing would always be language. Because I really try to make sure things are accessible. I recognize the privilege that I have, and not everyone has that. And so what is something that is accessible to you? If you don't have benefits, you've never had a therapist, you've never had a coach, what's something that you can do? It's always going to be thinking about your language because everyone has access to that. So how you speak to yourself and the language you're using is going to play a role in how you show up. So very much like I'm broke, okay, or it's, I just haven't figured out a way to afford it yet.
I like that.
And one is going to empower you and one is going to hinder you. And the reason I double down on that is because your subconscious is always working, even when you're sleeping. But it can't tell the difference. So if you say to yourself every day, I'm broke, in your conscious mind, you think you're joking. You're like, oh, I'm not actually broke. Or like, I'm not fully broke. But your subconscious mind doesn't know that. So now it's running through your head over and over and over and over and over and over again. And that's going to pertain how you show up in the world. But if we shift those things and shift our language, then it is literally going to omit a different frequency. Each human has energy frequency. That's your heart beating your chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So language is the biggest thing. You can shift it in whatever way, even the tiniest shift. Like even for me, going to the gym, I hate going to the gym sometimes. I've lost over 300 pounds. Like I'm in there to be my healthiest self. And if I said to myself every day, you have to go to the gym, I low-key immediately don't want to go. But if I shift that to, I get to. Now all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to go. And then the third thing is boundaries. People don't realize that boundaries is a really big tool because it's not just teaching you self-respect and teaching others how to treat you, but when you actually honor them. So, you know, when we were like, hey, I'm not going to talk to that person more because they're mean, and they call, you're like, yo, it says, that's you not honoring a boundary, right? Okay, so when you actually honor a boundary, you build self-trust. And the more you trust yourself, the more confident you are, and it really changes how you show up in the world. So those would be my 3 things that anybody, whether you're a coach or on a journey to become a coach, can implement into your life starting right now or immediately after you listen to this Body.
I love that, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Because like
broski.
even I'm
I love that.
Those are bars. Those
no,
three.
for real. I'm listening to that and I'm like, wow, these are things that I can implement to my life. I mean, well, I have started that, but it's just
Yeah.
that constant reminder. Like for me, coming from playing sports all my life, now to being a big man, family, work, I struggle with like maintaining a consistency in the gym. And it's like, I think oftentimes I'm always telling myself, I got to. But like when you just said, I get to, it's like, wow, if I change that, I'll probably be there every day.
Right?
Think about the times of COVID when everybody was trying to get into the gym and you couldn't get in.
Exactly.
It's a
Right?
privilege to be able to even go.
Literally.
Exactly.
It's a privilege to have your 2 legs, be able
That's
to
what
even
I-
work. You know what I'm saying? But we get so caught up in life, so we forget that.
Yeah, 100%.
And even like the last thing you said about boundaries, that's another big one.
You talked about it before.
And even like the confidence thing. Confidence is the amount of promises you can keep to yourself. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because like when you think about being confident in one of your friends, a lot of times you're confident in your relationship because they
Showing up.
they
Yeah,
show
yeah.
up for you.
Yeah.
And then the question is like, how do you show up for you? How do you show up for yourself?
For sure.
And it's like boundaries is a big one. Even that's one that I'm really working on.
Yeah.
When I say like I'm not gonna do something or like I'm not gonna talk to this person or I'm only gonna limit how much access I let this person have to me, all that type of stuff. It's like I gotta stand on it.
100%. And that's why I think it's important for us to have these conversations because not everyone has the privilege that we have. So if we can bring things, that's why I think, a lot of, which I love about your podcast is that you're bringing people along the journey, especially a demographic that typically doesn't get these kinds of conversations. And so hopefully the more they listen to your pod and are learning, they're things that are tangible and accessible.
Yes.
That no matter where they are in life, they can do one thing differently. And I think that is part of growth for any human in any life.
1% the better every day.
Better.
Look at you guys.
Oh my gosh.
Jabs, dog, everywhere. Jabs
It's
everywhere.
giving group hug after this.
The shot.
All right, so before we end off the episode, we play a game called Let's Talk About It, where we just try to have more deep and vulnerable conversations. There's 3 levels to the game. The white cards are the most surface, the blue ones are the middle, and then the dark ones are the deepest. So we usually have our guests pick a card, and this time you could do us a solid and either ask it to the room or just answer it yourself.
I'm like, I feel like I've been pretty vulnerable already, but that's fine.
Just one more time.
One more time. Let's see what we got here. Who is one person that loves you?
We've had this question before, so I'm gonna not say the same person. I'm gonna say, Yo, it's tough. It's tough because I don't want to say the same. Like obviously,
That's fair.
last time I said it was my mom. Like,
Nah, let's do this. You can't say your mom. Go for everyone. You can't say your
can't
mom.
say your mom.
Okay.
Cool.
Fair.
Cool. It's fair.
Or kids.
Correct. That's unconditional.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice.
Or your dad's.
Yeah.
Somebody that,
Parents aside,
that
kids
shows
aside.
you love and you're like, damn, this person really loves me.
I'm gonna say a few of my friends, to be honest.
All right.
Homie Q. He's a person that honestly he just shows up in ways that you just don't even think of doing things. He calls, he checks up on you, asks how things are going. He offers advice in areas that himself may not be able to give the answers on, but he'll provide a solution and where to go look for those things. He's a giving person, and it may not even sometimes. And what I love about his being is that it might not always be to me, but you could see him doing these things for other people, no matter what. But to our other friends with kids, he'll go out of his way and show up for them, make sure he's spending time. He's giving those parents a break to kind of just kind of decompress while he takes on the load of dealing with the kids, playing with them or doing activities with them. Just in certain instances where he will, not to harp too much even more, but like I said, him for sure too, I think is a person that displays love. And it's not to be like, yo, I love you, man, or any of those. It doesn't have to be any of that. It's just even how he moves. It's representative. So it's represented. So Q for me.
I have a lot of people that I would say that, but one that's like sticking out to me is my brother KB. I think even when I was younger, at a time where I was trying to figure out basketball, this is somebody that played ball and would call me and be like, yo, let's go to the gym. I'm going to rebound for you. You know what I mean? He wasn't getting anything out of it besides the simple joy of like, I'm going to help you get to this level. And he's been consistent with that in my life. This guy's put me on to so many things. Like I played golf because he put me on to tennis, all these things. Just he's given me the ability to continue to think like business mind. Like we started a business together before, and just seeing how he's branched out and done different businesses, and I've branched out. A lot of the times when I'm thinking, okay, you know what I mean? Like, what would he do? Because he's shown me this unconditional love, like almost in the sense to be like, I don't even want to say big brother, but like kind of like, yo, I see myself in you. And you know what I mean? If I could help you out before you kind of experience things, I'm going to help you out. And I think that's something that I've taken on in my life too. So definitely, again, not limited to KB, but shout out to my big bro.
Yeah.
You want me to go next?
It's okay.
Don't
You don't
matter.
have to, you don't have to say
If-
anytime.
If you don't want to go, I can go.
I'll go. Don't say I don't want to go.
Oh.
I'll go. You know what? I'm actually going to shout out Theon, actually, because you know what? Why I say Theon is because Theon, you've been that one friend who I would say like you wear your heart on your sleeve, but you always show love and like interest and care in a way that's different. And I know like all my brothers love me, but I want to shout you out because I don't know if I ever do. But it's like, you be like, yo, bro, you hit me up randomly just like, yo, bro, I'm proud of you. Or you hit me up and be like, yo, how did that thing go that you did the other day? Or like you just have this attention to detail where it's like you can really tell like you care. You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, I love my brothers and like
Love you too, my
I
God.
love you,
Appreciate
man.
you for saying that.
I don't even have any other words, man. But yeah, I love you, man.
For me, I never thought somebody could love me the way my wife does, to be honest. Like I know we have the brother love or whatever the case may be, but to see somebody love you that doesn't know you, that they're not expecting anything in return, to be there when you call, no matter the time of the day, the night, whatever, just for somebody to actually like have your back and tell you when you're wrong, even though you don't want to hear it, like that weighs heavy on my heart. Like, I don't care for yes men. When people tell me I'm wrong and then have your back even when you're wrong, Like, and you guys do the same thing, but I'm not shouting you guys out. That's about my wife right now. You know what I'm saying? I can see the man was like, hey, let me hear. Nah, like, you know what I mean? But no, you guys are a big part of that too, because you guys will tell me when I'm wrong, and I'll tell you guys when you're wrong. No, but I'm letting you guys know. Back to my wife.
Like to see you, yo.
Like, it's. I never thought. Let me just put it like this. I never thought somebody would love me the way outside of my mom and my dad that she loves me.
It's beautiful, bro.
That's it.
Ooh, shout out wifey. Gave me chills. And I love that everyone talked about things that weren't specifically words saying I love you, which is, also part of all of our cultures in a way, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
It's hard to just think of a couple people. I do, have a lot of good people around me who love me. But I really want to shout out my cousins because, I think there's a difference between cousins who are cousins and we see each other when the family links up versus cousins who become friends.
Mm-hmm. That's a bond you can't even put a price on.
And, we were always cousins. Our parents are siblings and we're maybe 2-3 years apart, but we were always cousins. And then our grandparents passed away and it was very much like, all right, it's on us now. It's not them bringing us together and organizing the events. It's up to us. And we really took the time and took the work to get to know each other as just humans. And, now they're like my sisters. They're not just friends. And now I'm seeing them have babies and just include me. And, I'm on vacation. And when I was single, I was just the seventh wheel.
Yeah,
Everyone else, but I never felt like it, And it was this moment of recognizing, wow, we were raised similarly, but very different. They were raised in Bermuda, born and raised, and I was, raised here. But that unknowing of no matter what, I know you have my back. And that quiet knowing that, on another level, to have blood, not just a friend, was something that was very new to me. And then shout out the friends who have also really supported me on my weight loss journey. There's lots of friends who've been like, cool, I'll be at the gym with you every morning at 8 a.m.
Shout out
and
to
when
them.
those moments when you have that little bit of lack of motivation, just to know someone else will go with you and show up without saying I love you, that means that you love me, and I really appreciate that. So shout out the friends who've done that. Shout out my cousins Janae and Jasmine. Love y'all.
Big shout out to Janae and Jasmine. You heard that?
I appreciate everybody for sharing. Honestly, it's a tough and vulnerable question. That right there, especially when we take away the
moms.
Everybody almost went to my dad still. You know what I'm saying? I knew where he was going. I gave him that look. No dad.
I was about to be like, Mom, they're not.
Oh man, but again, I want to thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
For coming by and really sitting down and kind of breaking down what life coaching is, and even just giving us, stepping away from even life coaching, just giving us an idea into the mind of yours and letting us know that it's important to or a reminder, it's important to respect people for who they are and what they represent and what they present to us, and just be a human, you know what I mean, despite whatever they are, or whoever they choose to be. So yeah, I want to thank you again, In closing, do you have anything to promote? Where they can find you at, anything? Well, I mean, we'll have that for
yeah, you'll have that. No, I think keep watching He's a Guy, because I think the journey that you guys are on and taking people on is really important. So I'm excited to see where it goes. And I appreciate you all for having me and trusting me to share my voice and what's important to me, and for exploring topics that typically probably wouldn't be discussed on a podcast of baddies.
I super appreciate
Guys can be baddies too.
You know what I mean? I say I am.
It's gender neutral.
So again, from us to you guys, please like, comment, subscribe right here. The little button. You know what I'm saying? Till next time, be safe.